Welcome to teaching learning session of sociology. Today we'll discuss about stratification in general, social stratification. What is social stratification? We'll discuss about the meanings, we'll discuss about the various theories related to social stratification, we'll discuss about the race and ethnicity, each and every concept of social stratification. What is social stratification? Social stratification is a process through which groups and social categories in societies are ranked as higher or lower to one another in terms of their relative positions on the scale of prestige, privileges, wealth, and power. So, in short, we can say this is social stratification is nothing but the ranking of social groups or social categories on the basis of prestige, on the basis of privileges, on the basis of wealth and power. Wealth, power, prestige, privileges, on the basis of these factors, when we categorize the groups or social categories into higher or lower ranks, then this is known as social stratification. Organizing, there are certain organizing principles of social stratification, right? The organizing principle of social stratification are strains, wealth, and power, right? Because these are the factors on the basis of which we rank the social group in a hierarchy, whether they whether they get a placed at the lower rank or at the higher rank depends on the wealth, depends on the prestige, depends on the privileges. So there are certain organizing principles. Social stratification comes into being into societies when social gradation or ranking is done on the basis of entire group of people, such as gradation based on the caste and class in our society. See, despite of factors like power, like status, like privileges, right? Prestige. There are certain other factors which plays an important role in stratification of society, especially in context to Indian society. That is caste. Caste is the thing which caste is the major factor in Indian society which plays an important role in stratification of the society. And another factor is class factor. Whether it's an Indian society or a Western society, class is another factor on which on the basis of this we stratify the society. Status. What is status? The earliest principle of social stratification is that of status. Status is very important factor of social stratification. Status is the language of social stratification, means ranking of groups in a society in on the basis of their relative position in terms of honor and respect. When we rank the groups in a society on the basis of their honor, on the basis of their respect, then that is known as status. This is status. Honor is qualitative attribute which members in a status group enjoy by birth. Any such attribute which is inherited by birth is known as ascribed and cannot be acquired by efforts. So it is a qualitative attribute. You cannot quantify this attribute, but this status at times, this status could be ascribed or it could be achieved. I'll not say it cannot be achieved, but caste is the thing which is ascribed. Ascribed status, ascribed means which you inherit from your parents, from which you inherit or which you get because which you get by birth. That status is known as ascribed status. And when you achieve that status, when you achieve some status, that status or that thing is known as achieved status. So on the basis of honor and respect, when you rank the society, then that is known as status. It could be ascribed, it could be achieved. Status principle of social stratification is also termed as principle of ascription. In our country, caste is very appropriate example of status group. Yes, caste is the thing, as I told you, which is ascribed. You cannot change your caste. You cannot achieve. If you are born in certain caste, you cannot change your caste. It is ascribed type of a caste. It is an ascribed status. But if we say which you the status which you get because of your professional affiliation, that could be achieved. The qualities which go to make the status group are related more to the values and belief. Next is wealth. The second organizing principle. The first organizing principle was the status. The second organizing principle of social stratification is wealth. Wealth plays a very important role. With the changes or the advancement of the technology, there is change in the mode of production, and such changes not brought but about the institution of social stratification, but in course of time also altered the principle of organization of social stratification. You can earn money, and the social stratification based on the wealth is class. This is class is achieved type of a social stratification. The group which had a greater control over the economic resources or mode of reproduction, or which possessed more wealth, were ranked higher in the society than group which controlled less of it, or group which had little or negligible wealth, access to wealth. An example of this is this type of social stratification is class. Status, the example could be the caste. It is ascribed, basically it is ascribed type of the status. Wealth could be the achieved type of the status. You can achieve the wealth, right? And example is class. Next organizing principle of social stratification is power. It is always possible that group with a higher status in the society, or that which enjoys a greater wealth, also exercise more power in society. In general, the group which has more wealth or which enjoys the higher status also exercises more power in the society. The concept of power, as Max Weber has discussed in his treatment of social stratification, rests on the fact that it endows the person or a group which have power to impose their will on another group by legitimate use of method. What is power? Power is when a person or a group which has a power imposes their will on the other group by legitimate use of coercive method. It is actually authority. Power is when one group which have a power to when a person which has a wealth or has power to impose their will on the other group, right? Then that is known as power. And when it become when with the help of legitimate method, when a group does this, then that is known as authority. When legitimacy of exercise of power is widely accepted by the group, in other words, when it is institutionalized by the society, then it becomes authority. When it has been accepted by the group, then it is known as authority. So power. So basically, there are three basic principles of stratification. First is your status, second is your wealth, and third is your power. So these are the factors or basic principles of social stratification. On the basis of these, we stratified the society. Caste and social stratification. As caste is an example of status, and in Indian society, so Indian society is stratified on the basis of caste. The traditional Indian society was organized primarily on the basis of caste stratification. Even now, it has importance. This stratification was such where caste functioned as a central principle of all aspects in social life, such as economy, polity, and the culture. So, caste is the center for each and everything in Indian society, in primitive Indian society, traditional Indian society, and everything, economy, polity, and culture were this caste functioned as a central principle. Distinction between the Varna and Jati. There was a distinction between the Varna and Jati. The Varna being frame of reference or model for classification, and Jati being the specific caste or group ranked in order to social status. There were four Varnas: Brahmin, Kshatriyas, Vaishyas, and Shudras. Right? The fifth Varna or the Panchama also came into existence. It comprised those who were thrown out of the caste system itself due to their having been judged by a society as to violated some of the basic norms. And these fifth Varna declared as untouchable and uh, untouchable, the acutest form of social discrimination imposed on any group in a society. So Indian society is divided or is stratified on the basis of caste, and there are on the caste there are varnas and jatis. There are four varnas: Brahman, Kshatriya, Vaishya, and Shudra, and the fifth varna is untouchables. They are thrown out of the caste. So this is how in traditional Indian society is stratified. There are certain characteristics of the caste system. That is, first is the membership of the caste is by birth. It is ascribed type of a thing. You cannot achieve. It is by birth. Hereditary occupation. Normally, children adopt the occupation of parents. Pollution and purity ascribed to different caste in terms of varna hierarchy. Whether that caste is pure or polluted, we discussed about the pollution and purity of the caste system many times. So this is ascribed to different caste in terms of varnas hierarchy. Then there are endogamy. There are certain rules for marriage and mutual repulsion or segregation. These are the certain characteristics of the caste system. Dimension or basis of social stratification. How social society is stratified. There are certain dimensions. The dimension of social stratification refers to the different level of differentiation which are made to allocate people in a given society. Natural inequalities take place in form of social inequalities when the member of society assigns some meaning to them. There are three bases of stratification: wealth, power, and prestige. We discussed about the wealth, we discussed about the power, we discussed about the prestige. Right? Wealth is achieved type of a thing. Power, prestige or status is ascribed type, and power, a group of people which has more wealth or which enjoys the higher status has more power. So basically society is based uh, on three principles, that is wealth, power, and prestige. We discussed about the caste, and now class. What is class? It refers to differentiation at the level of wealth. In this sense, it can be termed as economic differentiation. Caste is something which you get by birth. In which caste you are born, this is ascribed type of the status. Caste is an example of status. Class. Now, what is class? Class. Class basically refers to differentiation at the level of wealth. On the basis of wealth, when we differentiate the groups, or when we rank the groups in an hierarchy on the basis of wealth, when we rank the groups in a hierarchy, then that is known as the class. Actually, it is economic differentiation. Such changes not only brought about the institution of social stratification, but in course of time also altered the principle of organization of social stratification. Economic advancement led to generation of more wealth in society, more accumulation of markers of wealth. Is it in form of food, gain, grains, cattle, or metal, minerals, or money? It could be in any form that you possess. Your wealth could be in any form. It could be in form of food. It could be in form of cattle. It could be in form of metals. It could be in form of uh, money. Anything. The group which had a greater control over the economic resources and wealth, or which possesses more wealth, were ranked higher in the society than the group which control less of it, or group which has a little or negligible wealth. The social stratification based on the class is the example. Class is the example of economic differentiation. Now we'll discuss the views of certain thinkers on stratification, Marx on stratification. What was the view of Marx on stratification? Marx used historical materialism as a theory to understand social change. Marx is known as materialistic thinker. According to him, material mode of production is the one which is responsible for this stratification and which is responsible for division in this society. So Marx used historical materialism as a theory to understand the social changes. All living things depends on the nature for survival. Obviously, human being also depends on the nature for survival. The basic difference between the human being and other living thing is that it can transfer a nature for the survival. Human beings are able to produce their own means of substances. So we all depends on the nature, but the difference between the human being and uh, other living things are that human beings can transform the nature for their survival. They transform their nature for their survival. They are able to produce their own means of living. Marx noted in his work German Ideology that men can be distinguished from animal by consciousness, by religion, or by anything one likes. There is a difference, Marx, according to the Marx, that there is a difference. We can differentiate between the man and the animal on the basis of consciousness, right? We have conscious. We can be differentiated on the basis of religion or on the basis of caste, on the basis of wealth, on the basis of power. According to Marx, it is through the production that human being developed. According to Marx, mode of production is very important. It is responsible for stratification in the society. The group which possesses mode of production, they create wealth, they possesses power, and they imposes their will, or they exploits exploits the group which have lesser amount of a wealth, or which doesn't possess the wealth. Division of labor through development or through advancement of the technology, human beings were able to improve agriculture and could form a settled communities. In earlier societies, all people performed similar types of the activities which were needed for survival, that is, for food, clothing, and shelter. These are our basic needs. When there was a surplus, it was possible for people to diversify their activities. Hence, could produce food which was sufficient to feed all. while others were engaged in other activities. This is called the division of labor, when we divide our work so that so that there could be a mutual benefit, so that it could help this society as a whole. The system, and this system, when some are producing food and some are engaged in some other activities, this system resulted in some people gaining control over the means of production by excluding others. Some have some have gained the control over the means of production. Thus, property which was held by all come under the direct control of only some members, giving rise to notion of private property. And now the interest of all people were no longer common, and this has given rise to the capitalistic society. There were difference in interest. The interest of an individual become different from the interest of the community. Marx stated that division of labor and private property are identical expressions. It employed that contradiction between individual and communal interest. The division of interest, according to Marx, because of the division of labor, some people have control, some people gain control over the mode of production. And when they gain the control over the mode of production, they call it as a private property. And the interest and this gain has differentiated the interest of a individual person from the common interest of a community. Now the interest has changed. Now people have no longer common interests. They have their own interest. And the interest of individual become different from the interest of community. So there was a contradiction between the individual and communal interest. The difference which occur in human society, which are due to the existence of private property, led to the formation of classes, which form the basis of social stratification. There are two major groups, the ruling class group and the subject class. So, according to Marx, it is because of division of labor. In traditional society or in communal society, there was no division of labor. All used to work a similar type of their work were of similar type. Then there come a division of labor. Because of division of labor, some people gain control over a mode of production. Those who gain the control over the mode of production, their interest, their mode of production, then that is known. Then they started calling it as a private property, and the interest of the gainers or the interest of those who have a control over the mode of production is different from the interest of community. So there were no common interest, there were no longer any common interest between there is a difference or there is no common interest of the community. There was a difference between the individual interest and the community interest. And because of gain over the mode of production, this they gain more profit because of gain over the mode of production. They gain more wealth, power, and this existence of private property or gain over the mode of production lead to the formation of classes. And these classes, we discussed that the class is a base of social stratification, and thus the class become the base of social stratification. And in all stratified society, there are two major groups: the ruling class and the subjective class. Ruling class is that class which possesses the mode of production, and subject class is that class which don't have a mode of production or which do not have control over the mode of production. The ruling class exploits the subject class. As a result, there is a basic conflict of interest between the two classes. As per Marx, various institutions of society, such as legal, political system, religion, etc., are instruments of the ruling class and serves the interest of ruling class. So, because according to Marx, these legal system, political system, and specifically the religion system uh, controls the consciousness of the subject class. And these are the, according to him, these various institutions are nothing but the instruments of the ruling class to control the subjective class, to control the worker class, so that they can they can have access over the mode of production. So, in short, according to Marx, division of labor is the basic reason for development of capitalistic society, or for development of classes, and uh, on the when society is stratified on the basis of classes, there are two types of the class: the worker class and the ruling class. Marx used the term class to refer the two main strata in all stratification systems: a ruling class and the subject class. According to Marx, there are two stratas: the ruling class and the subject class. The ruling class derives its power through its control over the mode of production, and thus able to appropriate the label of another class, because they have control over the mode of production, so they can they exploit and control the subject class. Growth of class. Development of society is through the process of class conflict. The domination of one class over another class leads to class conflict. Alongside, the production process also develops due to change in the technology, resulting in its improvement. This leads to the change in the class structure as classes become obsolete with increase in production technology. New classes are then formed, replacing the old classes. This leads to the further class conflict. Marx believed that the Western society had developed through four main stages: primitive communism, ancient society, feudal society, and capitalistic society. So, growth of the class, according to Marx, believed that the Western society had developed through the four main stages. That was the primitive communism. Primitive communism is where there was no division of labor, there were the common interest, right? That was primitive communism. And because when this primitive communism ended, it leads to the ancient society or the feudal society. Ancient or slavery society is where there were the masters, there was a division of labor, there were the masters, and there were the slaves. Slave was like uh, uh, worker class, and masters were the ruling class. Then comes the feudal society. Again, there were the masters and the bourgeois. Again, with the and this feudal society has given rise to the capitalistic society. Again, there were two classes. There are two classes, that is capitalist and the worker class. Uh, According to Marx, the class conflict, that is, there will be a conflict between the classes, and this will result in abolishment of the classes. Then there will be no classes, and a new type of communism will develop, where there will be where there will be a common interest, no personal interest will be served. A mode of production. What is mode of production? Classes in society arise from a particular mode of production. In capitalistic society, mode of production, high level of technology and possession of other lands, and other machineries comprises the means of production. This creates a system where in one section on the means of production and others don't. This gets bifurcated into two classes, the capitalist and the worker class. And this bifurcation will lead to class struggle, and this class struggle will give rise to a new society that is known as communism, according to Marx. Class struggle is a recurring feature, according to Marx, in all societies. Because of this class struggle, this ancient society has given rise to the slave society, and this gave rise to the feudal society, and then to the capitalist society. This struggle is inevitable because the ruling class in every society sows the seeds of its own destruction. Oppression, economic, political, ideological, is a feature of this class struggle. Exploitation leads to rise of opposed classes. Thus, they feel alienated from the system which they help in treating without labor, for instance. Capitalism can never subsist because there will be a class struggle, because according to Marx, the ruling class sows the seeds of its own destruction. Because of exploitation of the worker class by the ruling class, they feel alienated from the mode of production, from their producers, and this will give rise to a class struggle. When they feel alienated, a consciousness will develop around the working class, and when they clashes with the oppression, they overthrow the system, leading to a new stage of social formation and abolition of private means of ownership, and this will lead to a classless society. Because of the class conflict, because they are there, because certain possesses the mean of production and other don't possess the mean of production, uh, ruling class exploits the working class alienates from their produces, and this will lead to the development of the consciousness. When the consciousness of working class will develop, it will lead to the class struggle, and class struggle will overthrow a system of capitalism and or the private property ownership, and this abolition of private means of ownership, and will give rise to a classlessness society. There will be no classes, then it will give rise to a classless society. What is class consciousness? Marx specified a number of variables for formation of class consciousness, like conflict over distribution of economic rewards between the classes. Because they feel alienated, they feel oppressed, alienated from their produce. Ruling class exploits the working class. So when their consciousness will develop, there will be conflicts over the distribution of economic rewards. They will ask for more economic rewards or equal economic rewards. Easy communication between the individual in the same class position, so that ideal and programs are readily disseminated. Growth of a class consciousness, in the sense that the member of class have a feeling of solidarity and understanding of their historical roles. When there will be the conflict, the individual, there will be a communication, and this consciousness, then there will be a development of the consciousness, and this consciousness have a feeling, then this consciousness will develop a feeling of solidarity, and there will the profound dissatisfaction of lower class over its inability to control the economic structure, which it feels itself to be exploited victim, and established of political organization resulting from economic structure, historical situation, and maturation of class consciousness. All these will lead to the class consciousness when they feel that that when the worker class feels like that they have been exploited by the ruling class, they don't have a control of the on their mode of on their productions. Then this will develop a solidarity among themselves, and because of this solidarity they will overthrow the capitalist society, right? Capitalist industrial society, capitalist Marx identifies two main classes, that is the bourgeois class and the proletariat class, right? Unlike the Marx, who talked about the two classes, Weber talks about the middle class also. Weber, again a sociological thinker, prominent sociological thinker. Uh, Marx, according to Marx, there are the two classes: capitalist worker class and the ruling class. Weber included the third class, that is the middle class. According to him, this capitalism developed a third class that is known as a middle class. In the 19th century, Marxists predict that the stage will come in capitalist development where the middle class would sink into the proletariat. But during 1950s and 60s, a number of sociologists suggested just opposite what was happening. Weber on social stratification. We discussed Marx on Weber, social stratification. Now we'll discuss about Weber on social stratification. Weber is regarded as one of the founding father of sociology. He is also the originator of most powerful alternative of Marxist theory of society. Like Marx, Weber also believed that class was a basic form of stratification in the society. According to the Marx, there are the two classes, ruling class and the working class, and these classes are the basis of a social stratification in Western society. Similarly, Weber feels like that the classes are the basic forms of social stratification. According to the Marx, Weber defined the class according to the Marxist criteria. That is the those who possesses the ownership over the mode of production, and those who lack property, or those who do not possess ownership over the mode of production. They are that is the basic criteria of division of classes. He went on to distinguish between two types of property: ownership and non-ownership of goods and services. Those who own property offered the goods, while those who owning had only their labor's power or skill to offer. Factory owner can offer goods which were produced in the factory. His worker, on the other hand, can offer only their labor in exchange of the wages. Another aspect of a class that Weber stressed was on the life chances. What is class and life chances? Life chances, the term related to the opportunities an individual got during the various stages of in his or her life, that is known as the life chances. There are two types according to Weber. There is a division of a society on the basis of classes. He divided the class into the three, right? And then, according to him, that the individual got many opportunities during the various stages of his or her life, and these opportunities are known as the life chances. When an individual born in a worker's family receives a particular type of education, right, which equips him or her for a specific job, the employment opportunity for both are different. Their difference in background also makes them part of different classes. The same pattern can also seen in interaction, social interaction, and marriage. So, according to him, that the individual got many opportunities during his or her life. These are known as the life chances. And when an individual is born in the worker family, then he gets a certain type of a education which equips him to get a specific job, and it will continue even in the marriages and the social interaction. While the life chances or the member of classes were similar, this is what he gives a permanence to the class as the next generation to join the same class. Life chances, according to Weber, is sharing of economic and cultural goods which are available differently for different groups. Status, he has given, Max Weber has given the concept of the status. He distinguished between class and class consciousness. According to Marx, class consciousness was an important aspect of the class. A class could articulate its interest if it was conscious of its existence as a special group. Weber too talked about the class consciousness, but he did not think that it is necessary for existence of a class. Instead, he looked for an alternative to class consciousness, and he found it in the status. So, status, according to Weber, status is the alternative of class consciousness. Individual's class situation need not lead to be his becoming class consciousness. He was always conscious of his status. So, and according to Weber, individual is not may not be conscious about, need not to lead class conscious, but always conscious of his status. Next power, next was given next concept, which according to Max Weber, the third organizing principle of social stratification is power. Unlike status and wealth, which can be clearly linked with group characteristic of ranking in society, power is a relatively diffused attribute. It is possible that a group with a higher status in the society or which enjoys a greater wealth exercises more power in society. As per Max Weber, the social stratification rests on the fact that it endows the person or a group which have power to impose their will on the other group by legitimate use of coercive method. When this legitimate exercise of power is widely accepted by the group, or when this is institutionalized in the society, then the power becomes the authority. There are certain similarities and differences between the Marx and Weber. What are the similarities and differences between the Weber? For Marx, the basis of stratification was class. The formation of class was subject to sense that class was formed because a group of people owns mode of production and other don't. Opposition of classes was an important aspect for Marx analysis. According to Marx, there will be a class conflict. It is through the opposition that social and economic changes took place. According to the Marx, that workers in their struggle become more united. They will develop a class consciousness, and because of this, uh, they will become class in itself, a class for itself. They tend to drop their internal differences. According to the Marx, class and class consciousness do not mean mere categories in the societies. They are the fundamental for social development. Class, according to him, class consciousness is very important. Weber accepts the Marx view on class, but he doesn't support Marx, but show how his analysis and weaknesses. Marx described the four types of classes. Weber feels that neither class nor class consciousness can explain stratification completely. According to him, status is the thing which can explain the social stratification completely. According to him, stratifies the society. He finds that classes are static, whereas status stretches across classes. Dimensions of social stratification. There are certain dimensions of social stratification. Andre Bataille has outlined the basic feature of their perspectives of caste model of Indian society. He worked extensively over the caste model of Indian society. It is based on the idea held and expressed by the certain section of people and not to observe behavior. Structural changes appears as a land reform. Structural changes like land reform, spread of education, social legislation, democratizations, industrialization, and urbanization. The effect of these on the caste system is that often adaptive mechanisms such as caste association appear as mechanism of social mobilization. Right? Race and ethnicity. What is race and what is ethnicity? Though the concept like race and ethnicity are considered as biological, but such concepts have deeper meaning and social construction. Although both the concepts, race and ethnicity, they are the biological concepts. No one has control over this. But again, these concepts have a deeper meaning, and these concepts uh, um, have impact on society. They are not just social constructions, rather, they lead to creation of various identities and marginalization of different social groups. This leads to social construction, but they lead to creation of various identities. Marginalizes of different societies. They marginalize the different societies. What is race? In common parlance, race is understood as an external physical features of various human beings whose categorization depends on the features like skin color, facial features, etc. That is why it's a biological concept. It is and race is understood by the external physical features. These categories are considered as biological. They are inherited. Hence, widely race is regarded as a biological category because we don't have control. It depends on our genes, it depends on the chromosome. We inherit our physical characteristics. It's a race is actually a biological construct, and it is actually the external physical feature of human beings. A race is described as a group of a people or a group having a similar physical trait. Those who have a similar physical trait, similar skin color, eyes type, height, size, shape, the group which have a similar physical trait, then that is known as a racial group. It is a condition where group sees similar characteristics between themselves and sees others as a different. Now this becomes a social construct. When people start seeing a group, when they start finding the similarities between a group and feels like that they are similar and they are different from the others, that is a condition. Such kind of division were made basically by the physical anthropologists during 18th century. and considered as a scientific classification of human being. And this has been done by the anthropologist in 18th century. Before this, there was no division on the basis of race because it's a biological concept, and anthropologists made it sociological concept because they differentiated the groups on the basis of their physical characteristics. Along with the physical feature, most of the times behavior characteristics were also added to the various races. Okay. Frederick Farrar in 1866 lectured on the aptitude of races, where he divided people into three groups on the basis of civilization: savage, all Africans, indigenous people, people of color with exception of Chinese. Then the semi-savage Chinese who were once savage but now well civilized. Civilized Europeans, Aryans, and Semitic peoples are civilized. So he divided it on the basis of civilizations. That is savage, semi-savage, and the civilized. Right? What is ethnicity? A look at the literature reveals three popular conceptions of ethnicity. Ethnicity, we can describe the ethnicity on the basis of biology, culture, and psychological. The biological conception is based on the common genetic descent. In this sense, ethnicity has been treated with synonyms with race. When we have a common genetic descent means when we inherit certain genes, or when we inherit genes and chromosome from particular people, when a group of people have a similar physical feature, then they are known as a race or ethnic. Ethnicity, when we divide the ethnicity on the basis of biological concept, then we can use it as a race, and we can treat ethnicity and race as a synonyms. The second conception of ethnicity involved a new thinking which differentiated a race from ethnicity. The second was cultural. That is ethnicity, that is the thinking, new thinking which differentiate a race from ethnicity. Although there could be similar features, but again culture plays, or when the uh, thinking plays an important role. This view is treated as cultural phenomenon. Here the mere sharing of physical trait was not seen as sufficient condition for defining ethnic group. Rather, the symbolic differences among the groups become the basis of ethnicity, with values, customs, historical background, lifestyle, and most importantly, language and religion being the most prominent symbol of the ethnicity. So, not only the physical features, physical traits, in cultural, when we divide ethnicity on the basis of biology, then only the physical features or the physical conditions define the ethnicity. When we divide it on the basis of the culture, then not only the physical features but other important things, other important symbols like customs, like religion, historical background, lifestyle, right, and the language, they are the prominent symbol of ethnicity. The third conception of ethnicity defines in the terms of consciousness of common identity, when the common descent and the cultural distinctiveness, individually and together, were no longer considered enough to constitute ethnicity. Instead, awareness among the member of a group regarding their similarities to each other and differences from each other that they give them the ethnic identity. See, biological ethnicity, when they share a common physical characteristic. Cultural ethnicity involves their physical characteristics, the religion, language, and other symbols. But these cultural and biological ethnicity are not enough to define the ethnicity or to constitute the ethnicity. The most important thing that gives that constitutes the ethnicity is awareness among the member of a group. They regard awareness among the member of the group regarding their similarities and differences from other groups, and this gives them to ethnic identity, and this is known as the psychological factor. So all these three factors form the ethnic group. The third conception of ethnicity defines it in terms of consciousness of common identity. Both common descent and cultural distinctiveness, individual and together, were no longer considered to ethnicity. The awareness among the member of a group regarding their similarities to each other or differences from each other gave them the ethnic identity. Sharing of physical, attitudinal, behavior, cultural feature was not considered sufficient to foster ethnic feeling. It means physical features and the cultural feature, attitude, behavior, and all other things is not enough to consider or foster the ethnic feeling. That is, the group must perceive themselves as distinct from others. That is, member must define themselves as we group, and this we feeling actually gives the feeling of ethnicity. This gives rise to the ethnic group. When a group differentiate, when there is a when they can differentiate themselves from the others, then this gives rise to the ethnicity. Ethnic group. Paul Brass discussed the three ways of defining ethnic group in terms of objective attributes, by reference to subjective feelings, and in relation to behavior. So, on the basis of these, we can distinguish or we can define the ethnic group on the basis of objective attribute, feelings, and behavior. Concepts and forms of social mobility. This society is not static, it is dynamic. Social mobility means the transition from one social position to another social position, because our society is not static. If our society becomes static, then there will be no development in this society. Society is dynamic and people move from one social position to another social position, and this movement of one social position to another social position is known as social mobility. Change in social position involves generally significant change in the life chances and the lifestyles. And the concept of social mobility is given by P.A. Sorokin. Pritrim A. Sorokin has given the concept of social mobility. According to Sorokin, the shift of position may be undertaken by an individual or social object or value that has been created or modified by human activity can experience social mobility. There are certain types and forms of social mobility. Sorokin defined the social mobility into two: the horizontal social mobility and the vertical social mobility. Horizontal social mobility means that transition of individual or society from one social group to another situated at the same level, while vertical social mobility put an upward or downward change in the rank of individual society. And that's all for today. Thank you very much. Namaskar.